Hey, we are. Hey, welcome. Sorry about that. I had to set up some trash cans. If you're new around here, you're going, what the heck is going on? My name is Jeff. I'm walking over to the coffee shop as I do every morning, and I invite you to walk with me. I take this walk and have these conversations so that we can talk about mindsets and mindfulness. And many of these segments are extensions of a show I host every morning. It's called Java with Jeff. It's morning mindsets for growth. And I want to talk a little bit today, discuss with you, if you're willing to participate, the idea of being stuck in the way it should be. So I'll give you a little bit of background and context on that, then we can discuss it. But if you don't know me, again, my name is Jeff. I'm in Indianapolis, and in the last 12 hours, our temperatures literally dropped 50 degrees. It's snowing right now. I think you can tell that. The wind is howling. It's 16 degrees, I think, Fahrenheit. Real fuel is either like 1 or in the negatives. So, the weather is real right now. But we're going to give this a shot. Let's see why we wouldn't make it over to the coffee shop. We were expecting a lot of ice, like flash freezing, and I think it's been so windy that actually the roads are dry. Somebody say something, but it's just crazy cold. And with the wind blowing, that takes your breath away. And anyway, let's talk about this idea. I restacked quote from an article about a quote from Ram Dass that says something about, and if you're new around here, I'm really good at butchering quotes. I'll give you the general idea, but then you've got to Google it because I won't have the actual words of the quote right. But it's the idea that when we're stuck in this is the way it should be, it doesn't allow us to see the way that it is. I think the quote goes something like that. And we were talking about it on Java with Jeff earlier. As I said, these segments will always be an extension of that show. That show is done for a private network of people. And I do these as an extension to open the conversation up broader because, these kinds of topics, these things that we talk about every day are applicable to everyone. So what I was saying earlier on Java with Jeff is that there's a young person that I know and I'm getting to know really well that often has this attitude, I'll say, that, well, they should do this or they should do that, or they shouldn't do this or that, or this should be this way or that way, right? And I think part of that is being young. Although I know plenty of older, more mature people, maybe that's just age-wise, that think similarly. Well, this should be this way, this way, this way, this way. And now that I think about it, now that I say that out loud, not to get too political, but maybe that's what's driving our insane politics in the United States right now. Maybe this goes deeper than I was thinking, but I don't really want to go there on the politics unless you want to. But or Nicole. But this idea that they have or a perspective that they often have, this is the way it should be, or this, that, or the other, doesn't allow them to see the way things really are. Keeps them trapped in that mentality. They don't have the ability to step back and really find a growth way forward. As I said it earlier, it doesn't allow them to show up in growth mode. I use the example of Uno. This person was at this Christmas party that I hosted with my girlfriend on Friday. We played Uno. It's one of the card games we played. Like, you can't play Uno and say, well, that card should be this, that, or the other, or shouldn't be this, that, or the other. Or my hand. Oh, it's cold. Or my hand should be this, that, or the other. I mean, I guess you could say that, but it just doesn't matter. Crazy. It's more likely, Nicole. It just doesn't matter what you think it should be. This is what it is. So what are we going to do with this now? I'm a big fan of thinking around the idea that we have to play the hand that we're dealt. So, whether it's a strategy session with business leaders that I'm holding or something like that, it's okay. What's the hand, and what's our best play here? And how's this set us up for the next hand? And that's important to remember, right? There's a next hand. It's just not, life is not a one hand game, right? There's a hand, and there's another hand, and there's another hand. And maybe you felt that all the way through 2025, where it feels like you've been dealt bad hands over and over and over. That's the way life can be, right? So getting stuck in the way it should be, I think it's really dangerous. It's definitely a fixed mindset thing. It's definitely a scarcity mindset. And as I thought more about this in the half-hour gap between the end of Java with Jeff and putting on all these clothes and walking out the door to do this, when we think about getting unstuck, I mentioned this earlier. There's a yoga instructor. I've attended a few of her classes now, and I'll pull context out of it, but she talks about showing up without judgment and with curiosity and kindness. When we're played the hand, whether it's an Uno hand or whatever, if we were to show up and not judge that hand, I mean, we can certainly look at it. We get that hand in Uno, we say, oh God, that sucks. This hand sucks. Or in, if you play poker or whatever card game you want to use, it's a terrible hand, right? But if, I guarantee, I've never talked to a single one of these people. I have no real world knowledge of this, but I would guarantee that professional poker players, as a for instance, when they are dealt a hand, I would guarantee that they don't look at that hand and go, oh, this is a terrible hand. They look at that hand and say, what are we going to do with this? What am I going to do with this? Nicole says, how you handle this hand influences what you get for your next hand and influences how you react to your next hand. Exactly. This play on that play on that play, and they all influence. And when we show up in growth mode, when we show up without judgment, this hand is neither good nor bad. It is the hand. And then we show up with curiosity. Okay, what can I do with this hand? What is this showing me? And in the greater context, of course, talk about the context of a game, this card game in this case. And then I don't know in that particular example what the kindness piece of it, what that means, but just those two steps can completely change the way that we look at the world. Good morning. It was the only crazy one. And as I started thinking more about this again in the gap between job with Jeff and now, what does this mean? I talk in terms of personal growth, relationship growth, professional growth, because I think for many of us that makes up a sort of the holistic person. Maybe depending on the season that you're in. Yeah. If we think about this in terms of relationships, and you've heard this idea, probably, if nothing else, maybe in a faith tradition, I've heard this idea of unconditional love. And it struck me as I started thinking with that if we think about unconditional love, there's no room for the way it should be. There's just not. Right? Unconditional means it just is. Unconditional love is showing up without judgment, showing up with curiosity, showing up with kindness. Yeah, you might use some different words in there, but that's what it is. Right? We can't, if we are going to truly love someone, and of course, this is a fairly specific type of relationship, the lens of relationship, but if we're going to love someone unconditionally, we can't get stuck in the way it should be. We have to be able to pivot. We have to be able to ask the question, and someone brought this up, or someone posted, I hadn't found it yet, or I'd lost it, or whatever. James Clear's 321 email from last week. The question for you is, what is this teaching me? Right? If that's an important question, what is this teaching me? I think this is the way it should be, but it's not. What is that teaching me? What can I learn from that? Hi, Dustin. Thanks for walking along. And I opened the live stream up again accidentally. You gotta. There's something right at the very beginning when you set up a live stream on Squarespace, or not Squarespace, Substack. And if you blow past it too fast, you open the live stream up to everybody, not just subscribers, etc. So happy to have everybody along. The promise is that this is for subscribers, but I'm happy to have everybody along the walk. Hope you're warmer than I am. Here in Indianapolis, where the wind is howling, that's, I think, let's set people's trash can up for them. It's like 15 degrees and real feel in the single, if not negatives. Anyway, this idea we've been talking about is getting stuck in the way it should be. What does that mean in relationships? It means that in relationships that we're judging. That's what it is, right? If this is the way it should be, whether it's a relationship or anything else, that's judgment. And who are we to say? That being stuck part. That's hard. That's dangerous, right? Because it like I said earlier, it's a fixed mindset thing. It's a scarcity mindset thing, but that being stuck part is, sorry, I had to switch hands. Trying to get some feeling back in my fingers. That being stuck part means that we can't grow. It means that um, I say this a lot. I feel like I say it a lot. We can't think and act expansively. And I totally get that from a personal, but everybody talking about 2025 being a dumpster fire or whatever, or whatever reason. Yesterday, Carolyn, who's my girlfriend, Carolyn, her battery died on her car. So I met her where she was and jumped her car, no problem. And so I was on my way home and I got on the interstate and realized that for whatever reason, I hadn't got my hood latched really well. Hadn't got it latched completely. So I needed to pull over because I was afraid it might, pop up while I was going however fast I go on the interstate. So I pull off on the shoulder, shut the hood good, make sure it's latched good, get back in the car. It's hard. It's hard as fast as things move. People in the right-hand lane, it's hard to get off the shoulder and back on the interstate, right? So you have to accelerate pretty hard. Well, I did that. Something broke. And I don't, I think, as it turns out, I think it's like it's a wheel bearing or something, but whatever it is, it's not good. Limps the car home and I'll have it towed to the mechanic today or tomorrow. But, it's like, that's another thing. And you're right. Every year people say it's a dumpster fire. That's just another thing, right? It's another thing in a list of things in this year, this month, or this quarter, or however I want to look at it, right? And it has been hard. Lost my job earlier this year. And it's lined up some really good consulting gigs. Those went on hold, partially but in conjunction with the government shutdown, which is a huge, huge financial hit. And so I spent the last couple of months, 3 months, whatever it's been. One, it gives me an opportunity, and this is important. It gives me an opportunity to do some things, open up some time for people, help some people that I wouldn't have been able to help otherwise. Strategy sessions and volunteering here, doing some things. And at the same time, it's like, okay, where's the money? Right? Where's the money going to come from? How are we going to survive? So, I don't know. You figure it out, right? You start building on it. But when these things start happening, when things start collapsing like that, it's really easy to get in a scarcity mindset, which keeps us from thinking and acting expansively. And I'm absolutely, Carolyn and I were talking about this a while back. It's very hard when you get in survival mode to think bigger, to think about building. Get stuck in this thinking about how are you going to survive. There's no question. You start to link two and up. And I talked about this on one of these walks, maybe a month or something like that. And I think this just ties right in with it, right? way it should be. The way it should be is when wheel or whatever is getting through. Now, what are we going to do with that? Right. I'm not going to extend this any longer. I made it to the coffee shop. I'm cold. Thank you for walking with me. And yeah, grab some marshmallows, save them for the dumpster fire. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks. See ya.